Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you to this seminar on mystical tales for a magical life. Before I really begin speaking, I would like to just give you a little background of how this book really came up. While I was going through a lot of books that the younger generation is fascinated about, be it Harry Potter or you know Percy Jackson or whatever, where there's a lot of mysticism, magic, unbelievable things, stretches your imagination to a great extent. I realized that the root of all that craziness, the root of all those adventures, the root of all that magic, mystical stories is there in our scriptures. And in fact, our scriptures have much more magic and much more mysticism than you can ever imagine. So I decided to come up with a book that has 11 such, what I call as crazy stories. So these are the craziest of the crazy stories in the scriptures, and not one or two, 11 of them. So today we're going to probably discuss two of them. And as I tell you, that these stories are totally unbelievable. I mean, just madness, total madness from beginning to end. But the amazing thing is, through this madness and through this amazing adventurous story, there are some priceless lessons that we can learn from it. Some amazing concepts of life that we can learn from it. And that's what we're going to discuss today. So, of course, I leave it to all of you to explore the remaining 9 stories that we will not be covering. The book you have with you all. So you can go ahead and explore it in your own way and understand it in your own way. Probably someday in future we will do the rest of the stories as seminars also, whenever Krishna wills. That's the background of what we're going to discuss. So now that I've prepared your mind for what to expect, or expect the unexpected in these stories, we will jump in. Fasten your seat belts, get ready for a joyride. Not even just a joyride, this is like a roller coaster ride basically through these stories. The first story I would be speaking about is titled as Priceless Gifts in Filthy Packages. What this means, you will understand only at the end of the whole story. Just to set the tone, one time Akbar was thinking of some out-of-box questions. Now, Akbar had this very interesting fascination for weird kind of questions, So, one day he just asked all his ministers a question. He said, "Who is it that walks all the time?" So his minister started thinking, what is the answer? Who is it that walks all the time? One minister, he said, the moon keeps walking all the time. Another person said, the earth walks all the time. So like that, different people are giving different answers. Then finally, Akbar was not really fascinated by these answers. So he looked at Birbal and he asked him, according to you, who is it that walks all the time? So Birbal, he immediately said, what never stops walking is interest on money that one borrows. It goes on and on and on. It walks all day, it walks all night, without any rest at all. In fact, it is unstoppable. And it keeps running non-stop till all the loan is paid off. Akbar started laughing like mad. He said, where do you get these crazy ideas from? And he said, this is like an amazing answer. And he gave Birbal a big reward. And then Akbar, he was just in this mood of, jovial mood. He asked Birbal, why is there no hair on my palms? Why is there no hair on my palms? Birbal said, it's very simple. Every day you donate so much to the poor, therefore there is no hair on your palm. So Akbar said, then why is there no hair on your palm? So Birbal said, we receive so much, therefore there is no hair on our palm. And then he looked at the courtiers. He said, why are these people not having hair on their palms? So he said, when you give me so much, they are so envious of me that they rub their palms in envy. Therefore, they don't have any hair on their palms. Now, Akbar was just, fascinated by Birbal's mind. Sometimes in life, all one needs is a good laugh. Most people you meet are very serious about life, especially in today's times. Everyone is so serious, especially in a place like Bombay. Everyone is so damn serious about life. They're so serious that they forget to laugh. Laughter actually is one of the best medicines that you can find. And laughter is a therapy for the soul. So sometimes we need someone in whose company we can just laugh. At least there should be somebody in our life in whose company we can just laugh. That's all, Life offers us many reasons to laugh. But unfortunately, we are so caught up in finding reasons to cry that we find no reason to laugh at all, And therefore, if only we laugh, even a fraction of what we are actually laughing now, we will have much lesser reasons to cry, actually. So keeping all that in mind, today's story and today's context of session is arranged. So in this session, there'll be a lot of funny things that will happen, a lot of crazy things that will happen, a lot of weird things that will happen. You might find some of these things very childish. You might find some of these things unbelievable. It's all okay. They're all stories, and they're all fascinating stories which are very much a part of our scriptures. Each one of these stories are very much in our scriptures. So we'll begin with the story of a person named Uttanka. This story is a part of one of our Puranas. And it's very interesting because this story, it talks about a boy who is in a Gurukul. So this boy, his name is Uttanka, and he is in the Gurukul of a sage named Veda. So Veda is an exalted sage, very powerful sage. Actually, a part of the story is also part of the Mahabharata. So Veda, he loves Uttanka, his disciple. And Veda's wife, who is called as Guruma, the spiritual master's wife, she's called the mother. So she loves Veda even more, she loves Uttanka even more because Uttanka did everything she wanted. So now, every time, Uttanka was studying with Veda and his Guruma for many years, and time came for him to pass out. All his batchmates, all the students who studied with him passed out. But Veda said, I love you so much, why don't you stay back for some more time with us? Uttanka stayed back. By this time, Guruma was so much used to him, so she was not ready to let go only. Every time one batch passed out, Guruma would tell him, please stay back, one more batch. It went on like this. 100 years passed. Uttanka is not passing out only. Just imagine, one child is not passing out from 10th standard, 100 years, Uttanka is just not going out. And Guruma, Veda and his wife, they just don't want to let him go. So now, at some point, Uttanka felt the need that I need to go. I mean, who wants to stay in school forever, School is nice, definitely. I mean, everybody loves school. We may go to school back for a few hours and spend some, memories over there. But imagine if you have to stay in school forever, how irritating it will be. So beyond some time, Veda also felt bad. He said, we're exploiting this boy too much. I think we should let go. Guruma said, nothing doing. I won't get a better replacement than him, I want him to stay. At some point, Veda put his foot down. He said, absolutely I can't agree. We have to let him go now. So fine, Guru Ma, she came up with a very interesting condition. She said, I will let him go, but on one condition. If Uttanka gets me the earrings of a queen named Zanena by sunset, then I will let him go. If he doesn't manage to get me the earrings by sunset, I will curse him forever. He'll be doomed in hell forever. Can you imagine? What kind of gratitude is this? 100 साल घिसाया, उसके बाद ऐसा condition. So it became a little too much. But at least she is ready to let go at this point. A lot of people in life have a tough time in letting go. There was a boy, his name was Tejas. And this boy's mother, they were born in a very poor family. I mean, they hardly had anything. Mother was working to earn their livelihood. He didn't have a father. So now, Tejas' mother had a very interesting habit. Whatever she earned, whatever money she earned, half of it she would give away in charity. Now, Tejas was highly frustrated. He went to his mother and asked her, what nonsense is this? First of all, hardly you earn anything. And whatever little you earn, also half of it you're giving away in charity. What nonsense? I want so many things, but you can't give me because you're giving away in charity. Why do you do this? Tejas' mother looked at him and she said, see, I'm an ignorant, illiterate woman. I can't answer these questions. These are very complicated questions. She said, if you want to know the answer to this question, go and ask Lord Brahma. He's very intelligent. Now Tejas decided, I'm going to go to Brahma and ask him this answer to this question. And he left his house, started walking towards Brahma's kingdom. As Tejas was walking, on his way, he met many people that also were wanting answers to some complicated question in their life. On the way, he met one king. So this king, he built a huge tank, water tank, basically. And though he built this huge water tank, but naturally you build a water tank to store water. But there was no water in this tank at all. They're always empty. So the king asked this Tejas, can you ask Lord Brahma why my tank is always empty? So he said, fine, I'll ask, what is the problem? Then he went further. A little later, he found a snake which was struggling to get out of its hole. It was stuck. It was not able to get going, it was not able to come out, it was stuck in between. So the snake asked Tejas, can you ask Brahma why I'm stuck like this? He said, fine, I'll ask. So then he went further and he found a man who was in a wheelchair, crippled. His legs had got paralyzed, lost the ability to move. Very helpless and frustrated. He told Tejas, can you ask Lord Brahma why why my legs are crippled like this? He said, fine. And then finally, as he was about to reach, he came across a tree. The tree called him and he said, I am such a huge tree, flourishing, so many branches and so many leaves, but not even one fruit. I want to give fruits to people. I want to serve people by, giving fruits to them. But can you ask Brahma why no fruits are growing on my tree? They just said, fine. He went to Lord Brahma and he asked all the questions of these four, 5 people. And he asked his question also. Brahma said, go to the king and tell him that the reason his tank is not full is because he is holding on to something that he should have given away. He is holding on to his daughter because he loves her so much. He doesn't want to get her married only. He's not sending her away to get her married. The day he marries her, his water tank will get full. And then he told the crippled man, he said that this man has a lot of knowledge in his brains. He has so much knowledge, but he is not sharing his knowledge with anybody. Therefore, he's become crippled. Just tell him to share his knowledge and he'll become completely all right. And then he went and he said that the snake, it is stuck so badly because it is holding a diamond on its head, on its hood. The moment he gives a diamond away, he will get free from his trap. And he said the tree, under the roots of a tree is buried a very, very powerful and big treasury. The moment the treasury gets, taken away, this tree will start flourishing with fruits. So this Tejas, and he said, what about my question? Brahma said, you will get answer to your question automatically, you go. So this boy went, he was confused. He went to the king and told him that, you get your daughter married and, your tank will get filled. The king married the daughter to him only. So he got a wife suddenly, and then he went to the crippled person and he told him that you have so much knowledge that you need to share it with somebody. And this guy offered all the knowledge to him, And then the crippled man became all right. And then the snake, he gave the diamond to him. And the tree offered all the treasury to him, Now this guy had so much suddenly, And then he got the answer to his question also. Mother was giving so much. And then that helped him receive so much. So sometimes people are very, very hesitant to let go. And because they are not ready to let go, they suffer so much. Mentally, not being able to let go is holding on to something that is very important to let loose. Here, Uttanka's guru and his guruma, they were just not ready to let go of him. And the moment they decided to let go, they put a condition so big. So, Uttanka had a choice at this point. The choice that he had was, he could live a life of comfort inside that, Gurukul, basically. See, school always represents your world of comforts. And getting out of school into the real world represents getting into the world of complications, difficulties, tough times. Uttanka had a choice. Should I go and take up a tough challenge? The challenge was almost something impossible. Mission impossible. Almost something impossible for any human being to achieve. Or he remained in the school, in the Gurukul, peaceful. He's getting his food, he's getting his shelter, he's getting his clothing, he's getting the association of great saints. What else you need in life? Right? No risk at all. So a lot of people in life want a risk-free life. The greatest risk they take is not taking any risk at all. So in one sense, not taking a risk is also a big risk. So a lot of people prefer a life of comfort. Absolutely koi risk learning. You come to Goa, you'll find a lot of people like that. Shushekad, absolutely no risk. You give them a biggest offer in the world. They're like, nothing compared to staying in Goa. You just want to stay. So a lot of people in life just don't want to take risk because they love the comfort. It's not that the risk and the adventure and the what they can gain is not something great. But the idea of getting out of the comfort zone is a very disturbing idea. Uttanka decided, no matter what happens, I will go out. Let's see what happens. He just took that bold decision. 98% of population always remains within the comfort zone. These are people who don't like to take any risks. They have a lot of fear, in their lives. Usually, they live a very dull life. They love to play it safe. They love to procrastinate. What I can do today, I will do tomorrow. What I can do tomorrow, I will do it 100 years later. What I can do 100 years later, I will never do it. It's absolutely procrastinating. And they always live a life of regret. Towards the end of life, they regret everything they did, all the decisions they did, or all the decisions they didn't take. Only 2% of the people in this world have the confidence of getting out of the comfort zone. They run behind their dreams. They are ready to embrace the unknown. They love excitement. They live on the edge. And they try their best to get the most out of life. There was once a pond, a beautiful pond, where there was a colony of insects that lived in the bottom of the pond. This is a very special type of insects. And the insects, the colony of insects, all of them loved each other. Very close bonding between all the insects. But every now and then, they would see a very interesting phenomena happening among their friends. They saw that every now and then, one of the insects would climb up a lily flower, the stalk of a lily flower, and they would climb up, reach to the edge of the pond, and suddenly they disappear. Then after a few days, a second insect will go up, climb up, reach the edge of the pond, and disappear. Now the insects that were below had a conference. They were wondering, what the hell is happening? These people are going out, but they're not coming back only. What's happening outside? None of them knew. So then they all decided, those who were inside, the next time any of them go up, whoever is left, if anybody goes up, they will come back and inform the people who are below what happened out on top. So they all took a vow, 100% we will be loyal, And the very bug that offered the solution next went up. And it went up the stalk of lily, and when it reached the surface, suddenly something weird happened. Wings emerged, and it started flying like anything. It became a dragonfly. And this was something, unprecedented. And this insect never thought it could ever fly like that. It went through a metamorphosis. And when it flapped its wings, it was flying, feeling the top of the world. At some point, the dragonfly would come and sit on the same lily leaves. One day, it suddenly remembered, hey, my friends are there below. I had taken a vow that I'll go and inform them what is happening, So he looked into the water, he saw this colony of insects below. And he realized, I have a promise to keep. I have to go and tell them that what has happened to me. So he tried to go into the water. But no matter how much he tried to enter into the water, he was actually never able to go in. Because his situation didn't allow him to go in. Now he was different. And he was a changed person. This dragonfly had 4 very important realizations at that point in his life. The first realization that the dragonfly had was, now that I have become a dragonfly, even if I want, I can't go back to where I came from. Transformation essentially means transcending old formation. That means who I was, I am not the same person now. When you have the willingness to let go of your past, only then you will be able to renew your perception of the future. If you keep repeating what you did yesterday, you will be no different from what you were yesterday. Most people, they define themselves by what they were in the past. But ideally, you should define yourself by your potential of today, rather than seeing what you were in the past. Only when you define yourself based on your potential of today, you will have a future which is much more powerful. I mean, a lot of people began late in life. And they realized a lot about themselves late in life. Jesus Christ made his first sermon when he was about 30 years of age. Prophet Muhammad, he heard the call of Allah when he was about 40 years of age. Srila Prabhupada, he went out to start ISKCON when he was 70 years old. So it's not that the day you begin, you're already too old. A lot of people, especially in India, people feel 40, 50 matlab bahut ho gaya. 50, 55, retirement. and they completely lay back and relax. You go to the West, at 80, 90 people are jogging over there, enthusiastic about life. They want to explore life, at 70, 80. And at 60, we give up, So there's nothing more left in life. बस हो गया, जो हुआ होना था हो गया, अभी कुछ नहीं हो सकता है मेरा, है कि नहीं? क्यों ऐसा mindset है? Why we think like that? Because that's how we have always thought in our life. That's how we always thought, basically. So there are innumerable people who wake up late in life. Now, so the first realization that the dragonfly had was, now that you are a dragonfly, why are you trying to go back to become a water lily, water bug? Don't try to go back to your past. The second realization that the dragonfly had was, even if I somehow go back to where to below, to where the water bugs are, they will not recognize me in my new form. This is the price you pay for going up. The price that you pay for going up is, your old world cannot relate to you. The old people that you were connected to, they won't be able to recognize you. They won't be able to connect with you. The friends of, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, the friends of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and the friends of Mahatma Gandhi are very different. The friends of Mahatma Gandhi can never relate to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Very different person he was, right? So, when life takes a turn and when life makes you evolve to a next level, there will be a lot of people who will misunderstand you. There will be a lot of people who won't recognize you. There will be a lot of people who will make fun of you and criticize you. Any person who walks ahead of his time is sure to be misunderstood by the rest of the world. The third realization that the dragonfly had was, if I had not chosen to give up the comfort of being an insect, I would have never become a dragonfly. If he chose to remain below the water, in the comfort of being an insect, in the comfort of being a water bug, he could have never really become a dragonfly and flown so much. So as long as you continue to live in your comfort zone, as long as you don't have the courage to break open from your comfort zone, you will always continue to remain a water bug, and you will never be able to explore your potential of being a dragonfly. So the first thing is, you have to stop seeing yourself as a water bug and start seeing yourself as a dragonfly. Even if nobody in the world believes you, but you believe in yourself, it's still enough. But if everybody in the world believes you and you don't believe in yourself, it's never enough. So the idea is, what is important is not how the world sees you. What is important is how you see yourself. So the fourth realization that this dragonfly had was, if I just keep flying as a dragonfly, one day the water bugs inside will be inspired by the life I live. And they will take inspiration and want to become a dragonfly like me. So the responsibility of everyone who has become somebody in life is to be a role model for others who are not yet there. So the idea is, we have to live our life in such a way that at one point in our life, somebody takes inspiration from us and says, I want to be like this person is today. That's all. Uttanka decided to step out of his comfort zone. Now, before he left the ashram, he went to his guru, Veda, and he took blessings from Veda. Veda told him, the task you have taken up may seem simple, but it's extremely complicated and extremely tough. And he said, as long as those earrings are with Queen Zanana, they are safe. But the moment those earrings come out from Queen Zanana's safety, a lot of evil forces are going to try to attack to get those earrings. You better be careful. So now, Uttanka had been given enough warnings, his guru blessed him, and he set out. As he began walking a few hours, right in the middle of the road, he came across a very bizarre type of scene. He saw something that was unbelievable. He saw right in the middle of the road, there was a giant bull, massive bull, huge size. And what was even more shocking was on top of that bull, there was a man sitting who was 10 times bigger than the bull. Can you imagine? A bull that looks like a giant. On top of that, a man that is sitting on it who looks 10 times bigger than the bull. He was shocked. Uttanka was shocked to see this. Worst was that man called him out. And that man told Uttanka, come here. I want you to do something. Uttanka was thinking maybe he called somebody else, looked back, nobody was on the road. Only he was there. Naturally, he was scared. I mean, just imagine if a giant calls you, and tells you to do something. It's scary. It's not easy to handle. Once I was traveling in one God-forsaken country. I don't think I will ever go back to that country again in my life. It's a country known as Malawi. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's in some corner of Africa. And I somehow landed over there. I don't know how I landed and why I landed there. I'm still thinking why I went there. So I landed there somehow, and I was in the immigration, and a lot of things happened. And anyway, to cut the long story short, I was, after spending 3 or 4 intensely horrible days there, I was getting out of that country finally, And when I was leaving the country, I saw something really shocking. I was going through the airport security, and in the airport security, you won't believe what happened, Just before me, there was one man entering, and he put his mobile phone into the security machine, There was a security guy on the other side. He told this man, I like your phone, I'm keeping it. And this guy was like a huge, strong, black-bodied guy, And this guy is saying, I like your phone, I'm keeping it. This guy started fighting with him. He said, this is my phone, it's so costly, I can't give it to you like that. He said, nothing doing, I'm keeping it, And they were both having some heated discussions. Imagine, if the thief is the airport security, who else can save you, And while this discussion was going on, this guy saw me, and I was entering behind. He's telling me, you wait, I'll deal with you later, You can imagine what kind of people are there, That's considered to be one of the most unsafe countries in Africa, basically. I somehow managed to get out of there. But the point I'm trying to tell you is that you can imagine if you are faced in a situation where somebody is huge and powerful, 10 times bigger than the bull, you can imagine how big he is. And he's telling Uttanka, come over here, I want you to do something. Uttanka quietly went over there, And this guy is telling him, get on your knees, and I want you to eat the dung of this bull and drink the urine of this bull. Uttanka is wondering, what the hell, Why should I eat the dung of this bull and drink the urine of this bull? This guy said, you have to do it. And Uttanka was just, trying to figure out what was happening. And suddenly this fellow made a statement which was too powerful. He said, if your Guru Veda has done it, what's your problem? Why can't you do it? Now the moment Uttanka heard that his Guru had done it, now the whole perspective of this thing changed. Uttanka, now he was under a moral dilemma. His Guru had done something, and disciple is supposed to follow the footsteps of the Guru, right? So now Uttanka, he felt, if my Guru could do it, then what's the problem? Why I can't do it? He said, okay, I will eat. He went and sat at the back, and he almost was, eating the dung of the bull. And suddenly he had a thought in his mind. There are 4 reasons why somebody worships another, or why somebody is inspired to follow another person. The first reason is out of fear. Why I do what I do? Because I'm scared. If I don't do it, I'll be in trouble. A lot of people worship God purely because of fear. A lot of people follow some guru or do some ritual purely out of fear, because they have this fear. If I don't do it, what will happen? I know a lot of people in this room who may be worshipping and doing things ritualistically purely because of fear. Yeah. Started something, band kar diya to kya hoga? Yeah. All that kind of fear. The second reason why people do something is because of reward. Reward means if I do something, I will get something. So this is like a give and take, basically. A few people do something because of a sense of duty. There's no question of fear. There's no question of expectation also. Here it's a question of gratitude. I'm just grateful for what I have already received. But the highest reason why you should do what you do is out of love. I worship, I do something not because I'm scared, not because I will receive some gift or some reward in return, not because it's my duty, but because I love this person. That's all. Uttanka realized that if I should do this obnoxious act, I should not be doing it out of fear. I should not be doing it expecting something in return. I should not even be doing it because it's my duty to be a good disciple, follow what my guru has done. I should do it because I love my guru and I have great faith in him, and I'm very proud of doing following in his footsteps, basically. There's a love element here. Uttanka said, that's my focus. And he sat there, ate the dung of the bull, and then he laid on his back and he opened his mouth, and the bull directly urinated in his mouth. And he was drinking the urine of the bull. Closed his eyes. And as his mouth was getting filled with this urine, suddenly somebody tapped him on his shoulders. And he opened his eyes. So when he was lying down, there was a bull on top of him, right? Now when he opened his eyes, the sun was glaring straight into his eyes. The bull was gone. The man on top of the bull was gone. And there was this old traveler who was passing by. He saw Uttanka lying on the ground in the middle of the road. He tapped him. He asked him, what are you doing in the middle of the road lying like this? Uttanka looked around. He couldn't find the bull. He couldn't find the dung. He couldn't find the urine. He couldn't find the man on the nothing, empty. So then Uttanka started thinking, was this a dream? So he got up. He just was completely confused. He didn't know what happened. And suddenly he realized it is noon time. It was time for his afternoon Gayatri. Time was running out. He just sat in one corner and did his Gayatri. He didn't have time to wash his hands and legs also. He just did his Gayatri, then he continued on his journey. And finally, he reached the palace of King Pausha and Queen Zenana. So the king was a very pious person. Seeing a Brahmana come, they straight escorted him to the king's room. So Uttanka explained his problem. He said, my liberation and my freedom lies in your hands. Please help me. I just need the earrings of Queen Zenana. Pausha said, no problem. Take it. Go and ask my wife. She's in that room. Uttanka thought, wow, so simple. He walked into that room. Empty room. No one was there. Beautiful room, but empty. He came back to the king and he asked him, the room is empty. Nobody is there. King Pausha said, come on, my wife is there. Didn't you see her? He said, no, there's nobody there. The king asked him, did you do something wrong today? He started thinking. He drank urine, he ate shit, He did a lot of wrong things. The king said, did you do anything that you shouldn't have done? Impious. He said, yes. I did my Gayatri without washing my hands and legs after eating cow dung and bull dung and bull urine, basically. He said, that's it. He said, do your Gayatri again after washing yourself properly. So this fellow went, washed himself, did his Gayatri again. He went in, he saw the queen now. The queen was a very pure person. And only somebody who is really pure can see her. That was the level of purity of the queen. So this Uttanka went and begged her, said, please give me your earrings. My life depends on it. So Queen Zenana said, no problem, take it. She gave him the earrings. She told Utanka, I'm giving you these earrings. Please remember they are not ordinary earrings. The moment you step out of this palace, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to hunt you down for these earrings. And people can go to any extent to get these earrings. You have to be extremely careful not to let go of these earrings even for 1 second. Utanka said, no problem. He took full responsibility. He thanked her and walked out of the palace. So as he walked out of the palace, he started walking towards his guru's ashram. And now this was afternoon, late afternoon basically. He had to reach by evening. A lot of time left. And Utanka was thinking, what the hell? I mean, why did they make such a big thing of it? Saying that it's so tough and so complicated and all that. I almost reached over here. Just round the corner, I'll reach my ashram. So as he was just going to round the corner, he saw a beautiful lake. I mean, remember, he hadn't been out of the ashram for ages now, And finally, he's got his freedom. And finally, he's breathing fresh air. He's like living his own life. Suddenly, he saw this beautiful lake. He felt, I should go for a swim, So he removed his dhoti, he removed everything, his clothes and kept it on the shores. And that earring also remained in that dhoti, basically, And he went to have bath. Full confidence. Then nothing is happening. What is there? I almost reached, Sometimes you're overconfident when you're too close to success, And while he was having a bath, swimming and enjoying himself, suddenly he saw on the shore a naked man walking. Absolutely naked monk, And he was wondering, what is this naked monk walking on the shores like that for, And that naked fellow, he walked all the way to where his clothes were kept. He removed his clothes and started shaking it like that. And this guy is swimming and thinking, why is he shaking my clothes? Suddenly the earrings fell. And this fellow took it. He showed him like this and ran away, And this guy was thinking, oh my God, what nonsense. He got out, ran from, he wore his clothes and started running behind this person. And this guy was running so fast. At some point, when he almost caught up with this man, this guy changed into a snake and suddenly jumped into a hole and disappeared. And that's when he realized this person was not a sage, not a monk. He was Takshak. Takshak was a very powerful snake, basically, who was after these earrings. And now this guy's gone into the hole. Now he's, Utanka was wondering, what am I going to do now? He started digging into the hole, trying to find, where the snake went, but he just couldn't figure out anything. Once there was a baby pig who had gone to a lake to drink water. And this baby pig, he was drinking water. As he was drinking water, suddenly a tiger came. A tiger, he came to also drink water. So when this tiger came, this baby pig started really getting scared. Started shivering like anything, trembling literally in fear. The tiger looked at the baby pig and drank some water. Again, he looked at the baby pig. And the baby pig was thinking, now I'm dead. I'm gone, The tiger looked at the baby pig again and he walked away. The baby pig suddenly started thinking, why did the tiger walk away after seeing me, Then the baby pig had a sudden realization. He realized the tiger is scared of me. And the baby pig became so bold. He started shouting, hey tiger, come and fight with me if you can, The tiger looked at the baby pig, He said, what nonsense. The tiger told him, very, bored voice. He said, come tomorrow, same time, same place. Then we'll see. And he walked away. This baby pig said, what tomorrow? Fight today if you can. I want to fight right now. The tiger just didn't bother it, walked away. This baby pig was like really now puffed up, It's like feeling the king of the jungle, literally. He went and started telling all the animals in the jungle, do you know the tiger is scared of me? From today, I am the king of the jungle, He went and told everybody in the jungle, basically. And then he went to his family, went to his home. and telling his mother and father, do you know the tiger is scared of me? The father and the mother, they looked at him. They said, you've gone mad. They asked him, tell me exactly what happened. And he told the whole series of things. They told him, the first thing you have to remember, when the tiger's stomach is full, it doesn't hunt more. Right now it must have eaten good amount of food and come, therefore it's not eaten you. Tomorrow it has called you purposely. You go there, you are dead. And if you don't go there, we are all dead. Because the tiger will come here to search for us. So now the piggy was really scared. He was shivering. He realized he's been a big fool. He made a fool of himself. And he's put his whole family in danger. Then they called the grandfather pig. And the grandfather pig came up with his wise, brilliant idea of how to save the family. The grandfather pig told the piggy that tomorrow when you go, you better go on time. And when you go, before you go, you roll on all the shit you can roll on. You roll on elephant dung, you roll on, all kinds of, boar dung and this dung and that dung, roll on mud, roll in water, roll in everything. And then make sure you are fully messy, The pig rolled on practically every possible smelly thing in the world, And finally it went over there on time for the tiger. The tiger came up and looked at that piggy, Tiger said, what have you done to yourself? And when the tiger went close, he was stinking so badly. The tiger said, get lost from here. And the tiger left from there, From that day onwards, all the pigs have got a formula. How to save their life, They roll all the dung and that's why pigs are like that. The point is, a lot of times in life, we tend to become overconfident in ourselves, overconfident about ourselves, but more than overestimating ourselves, in the process, we underestimate others. So, either we overestimate ourselves or underestimate others. The reason usually is not arrogance. The reason usually is ignorance. It's not necessarily only out of arrogance we overestimate ourselves and underestimate others. It's sometimes purely ignorance. We are such fools that without understanding, without having right knowledge, we end up overestimating ourselves and underestimating others. Uttanka realized he made a big mistake in his life. He was almost on the verge of reaching back to his ashram. Just before reaching back, he went to have a swim over there, full overconfidence. And he underestimated Takshak and underestimated Takshak's ability to steal the earrings. Now, Uttanka was in front of that hole. Suddenly, a man walks up to him. And this man tells him, don't worry, I'll help you. He tells him, I am the servant of Indra. And he said, this person who has gone into this hole, his name is Takshak. And he said, this hole is not an ordinary hole. It's actually a portal that leads all the way to Patal Loka. So he said, I will help you reach Patal Loka, but once you reach there, you're on your own. So this fellow used the Vajra, the thunderbolt weapon of Indra, and made that hole huge. And Uttanka jumped into that hole. And that hole went kilometers below, straight into the netherworlds. And he reached the Patal Loka. So when he reached the Patal Loka was a massive place. It was a huge, huge city. And Uttanka started running about everywhere searching for the snake. And he had no idea where Takshak was. So while he was running, he found two women weaving cloth in a machine. They were using a black thread and a white thread. And the machine had a huge wheel with 12 spokes in it, and 6 boys were turning that wheel. And so when Uttanka saw this massive machine, he was like bewildered. He had never seen such a huge machine ever in his life. And as he stood there in bewilderment, a man came riding on a horse. Huge horse, beautiful looking horse. And this horse was red. It was blazing like fire. And This man, extremely handsome looking man, he got off the horse and he told this man, "Can I help you?" The man told Utanga, "Can I help you?" Utanga told him his whole problem. He said, "I can help you easily. You just have to do one thing." Utanga said, "What do you want me to do?" This man, he told him something absolutely bewildering. He told Utanga, "Go to the back of this horse and blow into the back of this horse, into the rear of the horse." Utanga was thinking, what nonsense. What kind of weird things people are making him do, Utanga said, "I can't do that. See, if you want your earrings back, you better do that." So Utanga goes behind the horse and starts blowing into the back of the horse. And as soon as he starts blowing into the back of the horse, from the horse's body, all over the body of the horse, from every pore of the horse's body, fire starts coming out. And there's massive flames coming out and shooting in all directions. And very soon, the whole Patal Loka is hot, extremely hot and extremely, inflamed. And as soon as the flame spreads all over the Patal Loka, snakes from all directions start coming out, And all the snakes are like miserable with that smoke and the fire and all that. And finally, Takshak also comes out from that. And Takshak, he gives the earrings to Utanga and he tells him, "Please stop blowing that, the fire." And Utanga takes the earrings and stops blowing the fire. A lot of times, when people tell us to do something which seems bewildering, or when people tell us something that we can't believe in, or people make us do things that seem completely madness, we have to remember it's a lot about perceptions. Life, each person looks at the same event or same set of events with different set of eyes, different perspectives. When you look at one event from different perspectives, the same event looks completely different. There were three friends, three yogis actually. They had a problem and they decided, we'll go to Lord Brahma and ask solution for our problem. All of them had different problems. So then, the first person, his name was Devendra. He was from the heavens. The second person, his name was Danavendra. He was from the lower planets, from the hellish planets. And the third person, his name was Manavendra. He was from the earth. But they're all three good friends. They all went to Lord Brahma and, they told him their problem. As soon as they told Brahma their problem, Lord Brahma, he only uttered one syllable. He said, "The." That's all. The three friends said, "Wow, this is exactly what we wanted to hear. We got the answer to our question." All of them were so happy and they were going back. But when all three heard the same word, same letter literally, they saw it from three different perspectives, So, when Devendra heard the word "the," his interpretation was, Brahma is telling him the answer to his question is Daman. Daman means self-control, repression. Now, why did Devendra think like that? Because Devendra stayed in the heavens. And heaven is a place where there is no control. Everyone is out of control. They do everything they want, full flow of enjoyment. Extreme amount of fun. There's no question of control there at all. So, this abundance of liquor, the abundance of sensual pleasures. So when Devendra heard the word "the" from Brahma, he felt that only by self-control can one actually look at one's own faults. It made perfect sense to Devendra, and he realized that in the heavens, we have to start practicing Daman, self-control. Only when bad habits are corrected can a character be improved. He appreciated Brahma's wisdom. He said, from today onwards, I'm going to practice self-control. And he went and advised all the heavenly people, all his friends, Daman. Brahma has told us to practice Daman. On the other hand, Danavendra, he went to the his lower planets. And for him, the word the by Lord Brahma meant daya. Because demons were cruel people, violent people, ferocious, aggressive people. And he realized what we really need in the lower planets is compassion. A little bit of compassion. If only the demons can bring in some compassion within themselves, they would not be so unjust. They would rectify their behavior. And they would actually see their character flaws. And he started preaching in the lower planets. All of us need to show daya. This is the need of the hour of the demons. Brahma got that bang on. And Danavendra was very happy. And then Manavendra, he went to the earthly planets. And for him, the word the means dana, sharing, charity. Human beings have a proclivity to hoard things, to keep everything with themselves, not let go at all. There was one guy, one miser. He told his wife before he died, he told her, when I die, put all the cash in the coffin. All my wealth that I have earned all my life, put it in the coffin. I want to take it in my next life and use it. The wife, she put a check when he died. Leke jana do. Next life mein cash karo. So human beings have this intense desire of hoarding things, keeping things. So what human beings really need is dana, giving, sharing, charity. And he realized that the moment you stop accumulation, you will start building a character. He appreciated Brahma's answer and he said, this is perfect for human society, dana. So now, life is like a kaleidoscope. What you see in it depends on who you are. Now, Utanka, he got his earrings back. The next problem was, how is he going to go all the way back? He has so many hundreds of kilometers to cross and reach back before sunset. And sun was going to set in a few minutes literally. So Utanka was in a chaos. He didn't know what to do. Then he asked the horseman that, how do I reach back? I need to reach before sunset. Otherwise my Guruma is going to curse me. The horseman said, don't worry. You sit on my horse and the horse can travel in the speed of the mind. So Utanka sat on the horse. In the meanwhile, what was happening was, in the ashram, Guruma was really getting excited because sun was almost on the verge of setting. And she was excited that finally she's going to curse this boy who decided to go away from her, So she took water in her palms and she was actually going to spell the curse just as soon as the sun sets. And while the sun was setting, from the side of the sun, that direction, a horse jumped. And this Utanka comes in a flying horse and enters into the ashram. And he jumps in front of his Guruma and gives her the earrings. And Guruma is totally bewildered. She said, how did you do it? How did you manage to do it? She was like totally bewildered. And she realized she had no option but to let go of Utanka. Utanka was victorious. He became successful. Utanka felt very happy and successful, and he realized that behind his success, there were two factors. One was hard work, and the second was luck. If only hard work was useful, or only hard work was a reason behind your success, then a lot of people who put hard work, they can become successful. But Utanka put hard work, but if you see in the story, at every given point of time, luck came in picture. I mean, just imagine if that fellow who had not come to help him with, dig a hole into the Patal Lok, how would he have ever gone in? And then if that horseman had not come, how would he have ever found? So many factors that came in between. So Utanka realized success is a combination of the two. You need to put your hard work, but at the same time, you need to depend on grace. It's not that only hard work makes you successful, and it's not that only grace makes you successful. You need the combination of the two. Utanka pleased his guru, Veda. He sought his blessings, and Veda was very, very proud of his disciple. He was feeling so bad that Utanka had to suffer so much for so many years. He saw the pain of this boy, he saw the innocence of this boy, he saw the hard work of this boy, and he saw the genuineness of this boy. But he realized now is time to set Utanka free. You're so proud of Utanka. He said, you have achieved the impossible. And then Utanka explained all that happened during the whole journey. And his guru, Veda, he told him, everything that happened to you today has a deeper meaning. And Veda started explaining everything that happened from beginning to the end of the journey from a different perspective. So the scriptures, the way they are written in layers. On one level, there is a story going on. The craziest of crazy stories going on. You might think, what the hell is going on over here? But the same story on another level means something else only. Something else only is going on a deeper level. Only when you have the grace or the guidance of a guru, you can actually know what is the deeper level going on within the externally apparently crazy things that happen in your life. Utanka's guru Veda told him that everything that happened to you today was a test of your faith in your guru. How much faith you had in me, how much faith you had in my abilities to help you. So he said, the bull that you saw in the beginning of your journey, that bull was not an ordinary bull. It was actually Airavat, the elephant carrier of Lord Indra. And he said, the Hulk who was sitting on top of that bull, he was none other than Indra himself, the king of the heavens. And the urine that you drank, and the cow dung and the bull dung that you ate, it was nothing but the nectar of immortality. It was actually the celestial nectar. And the only reason you survived that fire in Patal Loka was because you had already drunk that nectar. And that nectar helped you survive that fire where everybody else was getting affected by the fire. And he said, when you saw all this packaging, when you saw all these externals, it didn't bother you because you had faith in me. You had unshakable faith in me. And because you had unshakable faith in me, you could manage to, overcome all these challenges. And he said, in the Patal Loka, the two women that you saw, weavers, they were Dhata and Vidhata. They were personifications of destiny. They are the ones who weave your destiny. And the white and black thread represents day and night. And the 6 boys and the 12 spooks represent the 6 seasons that change in cycles and the 12 months of the year. And the horse on which you rode back, the horse was Agnidev, the god of fire. And the horseman who, gave you the horse was Indra himself. And Indra was my very close friend. And because Indra is my friend, he agreed to help you on your journey. And in every step, he was there helping you because you had my blessings. And the moment you stepped out of the ashram, from that moment onwards, all the way till you came back into the ashram, my blessings have seen you through the whole thing. So Utanka was so thrilled and happy hearing his guru describe everything that happened and how he was actually present throughout the whole journey. A lot of people in life feel they don't need a guru. A lot of people in life, they feel anybody can be their guru. A lot of people in life, they actually don't understand what is the meaning of a true guru, a genuine guru. So one time, there was a king who had no real understanding of who a genuine guru is. Anybody who gave him knowledge which seemed interesting, he was ready to accept as guru. One day, in the court of the king, there was the court pandit who gave a spiritual discourse. And he started speaking about one particular verse, one particular shloka that describes how Lord Vishnu is everywhere, all pervading. How Lord Vishnu is the greatest of great. The king was least interested in such, things. He was more interested in having fun and, joy in life. So the next day, another fellow came, another pandit came. And he came to know that this king has this mood of having fun and joy in life. So he said, the shloka that the pandit quoted yesterday actually has another meaning, which is a better meaning. The king said, yes, please tell me, I want to hear. The new pandit said, the shloka actually does not refer to Lord Vishnu. It refers to coin, money, paisa. The king said, how does it refer to money? He said, exactly like how Lord Vishnu is all pervading, money is all pervading, And he said, just like Vishnu does not stay in one place, he is there everywhere. Like that, money does not stay in one place, it keeps traveling from one place to another, And he said, just like Vishnu helps people overcome all their problems, money helps people overcome all their problems. The king was so fascinated. He said, you are a real genius. He said, actually, you should be my guru, He threw that fellow out and he said, from now onward, you are my guru. Now, the next day, another pandit came. And he told the king, actually, what that shloka meant, it neither means Vishnu, nor means money. It is something else only. Now the king was very intrigued. He said, what else can it mean? This fellow said, actually that shloka is referring to idli chutney. Because idli is white in color, and idli is all pervading. Everybody eats idli only, And it says when idli enters your mouth, it goes in every corner and spreads all over your mouth, And idli can overcome all your problems. When you have problems in life, eat idli, you'll be happy, The king said, wow, this makes more sense, And then this fellow, this new pandit who came, he actually was his original pandit disguised. Just to show the king that anybody can fool him just by, word jugglery. A lot of people, when they connect with spiritual truths, when spiritual teachers, spiritual gurus, they don't understand the gravity of the matter. They don't understand the gravity of the subject matter. And they don't understand how do you choose someone to be your teacher. Discrimination is a sign of intelligence. But discrimination is not possible without knowledge. To impress someone is very easy. But to have an impact in their life is very difficult. A genuine guru, a genuine teacher, is not someone who just impresses people, their intelligence, but is someone who actually can touch their lives forever. Here Uttanka had the blessings of a genuine spiritual master, Veda. And with that blessings, and with that grace of Veda, he set out into his life and started exploring. Uttanka eventually became a very powerful sage. He became a very powerful teacher, very powerful guru himself, traveling around the world, inspiring so many people. At one point, Uttanka began to stay in a desert, which is known as Ujjalaka. So that became his home, basically. It was a massive desert. So during one of his travels, he happened to go to Dwarka, where he met Lord Krishna. So when he met Lord Krishna, Krishna was very impressed with Uttanka, and he told Uttanka, I want to give you a benediction. Ask for any blessing you want, any boon you want. So Uttanka thought a little bit, and he told Krishna, my dear Lord, the only blessing that I want is, please give me unlimited water when I need it. Naturally, living in a desert, when you're living in a desert, what else you need than water, right? The most important need of yours is water. And in desert, it's not available easily. So Uttanka told Krishna, please, give me water. So Uttanka said, no, Krishna said, no problem. Whenever you need water, just close your eyes and remember me. And I'll make sure that you get water. So Utanka became really happy because his problem is solved. So he went back to his desert, started living over there. One day he went on a long journey somewhere in the deserts. And while he was on this long journey, at some point he came across extreme, extreme degree of thirst. Sweating like anything, almost dying without water. He remembered Krishna, closed his eyes. My dear Krishna, please send me water. And he opened his eyes. Suddenly next to him, there was a man standing with a pot of water. But the interesting thing was, this man was a beggar. His clothes were totally disheveled, torn, dirty. The pot he was holding in his hand was completely dirty, messed up. All kinds of moss and fungus and all kinds of weird things, insects floating around, Very, very... Utanka got so angry and upset on Krishna. He said, what nonsense is this? My dear Krishna, I asked you for water. What did you send over here? And then, as he was angrily speaking to Krishna, this fellow also disappeared. The fellow was standing there. Krishna told Utanka, my dear sage, when you prayed for water, I actually fought with Indra to send you not water but celestial nectar so that you will never feel thirsty again. But when Indra came, Indra said, I will not go. I will not give him nectar. So I fought with him, I pushed him. He said, fine, I'll go, but I'll go packaged. He said, okay, this fellow used to packaging anyways, In the past, he has dealt with many packages. So he thought he will deal with one more package. So this fellow, that's how Indra came. This guy is a beggar and with dirty water basically. Unfortunately, this time, Utanka succumbed. He looked at the externals. And because he looked at the externals, he forgot to look from the point of view of faith. He just completely lost his faith in Krishna. And started cursing Krishna like anything, started cursing this fellow. And then he lost that water also. But eventually Krishna, he was pleased with Utanka. He told him, whenever you need water, I will send rains. So in the deserts, there is a particular rain shower that comes. Even today, it is called Utanka showers. So somewhere in the deserts, once in a while, it rains, basically. Those raining clouds are called Utanka clouds, basically. So that's how Utanka got his water. But the point over here is, the story ends with a very interesting understanding of life. The story brings us or teaches us three very important things in life. The first most important thing in life, for us to experience any success or failure in our endeavors, for us to experience any kind of ups and downs in our life, how to handle it, these are called 3 P's of life. The first P is packaging. So, Utanka's life represents a life of challenges. Utanka was living in the ashram, in an apparently comfort zone, we can call it. But he decided to step out of the ashram, step out of his comfort zone. Anytime you step out of your comfort zone, you will come across challenges. The moment you come out of your comfort zone, you will come across challenges. But the challenges never come straightforward. They will always come in the form of packages. The challenge will never say, I am a challenge. It will come packaged in a different way. So all of us in our lives, as long as we are in our comfort zone, we will never have any problems in life. We will never experience any problems in life. The problems will come only when you step out of the comfort zone. A lot of people live and die in their comfort zone. And they don't have any challenges at all. The problem with not having challenges is that you will not grow also. When you deal with challenges successfully, that's when you grow beyond your capacity, beyond who you are today. So as soon as Utanka stepped out, he started facing challenges. And the challenges always come disguised in the form of clever packages. So Utanka had series of challenges that came into his life. And every challenge that came into Utanka's life, he dealt with it by the second P, which is principles. Whenever you come across packages in life, whenever you come across challenges in life, you have to go to your basic principles, the most important principles of life. And when you look at the challenge, look at the package based on principles, the package doesn't remain a package anymore. The package falls apart. And then you can actually see the challenge the way it is. Unfortunately, most people are caught in the packaging itself. They get so caught in the packaging that they cannot see the principles behind it. Every package tests your faith in the principles of life, in higher principles that you're following. Whenever you have a package, whenever you have a challenge that comes in your life that tests your faith, the moment you exhibit faith, the moment you exhibit great faith in the principles of life, that faith in the principles brings it powers. The power of grace, the power of blessings, the power of a guru's wisdom. So when you're focusing on the principle of faith in his guru's blessings, Uttanka was able to overcome all the packages, all the challenges, and achieve success in his goal. But later on, when he came across a package, when he came across a challenge, he forgot to focus on principle of faith in Krishna. And the moment he forgot to have faith in Krishna, forgot to focus on the principles, the package became overwhelming for him. And therefore, he did not attract the power of grace to see beyond the packaging. All of us in our lives, we are like Uttanka. We are sitting in our comfort zone. But the day you get out of your comfort zone, there will be a lot of packages that will come into your life. A lot of challenges that will come into your life. When you come across those challenges, remember the second P, principles. Stick to the higher principles of life. Stick to the principle of faith in gurus, faith in higher powers. And the moment you stick to the principles very intensely, the packages, you can deal with them through the power of grace that you attract because of your strictness and adherence to the principles. And that's how, by living a principle-centric life, you attract the power of grace that helps you grow beyond the packaging. Hare Krishna.
RG Media YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe.